señal de frecuencia modulada estereofónica multiplex, La Voz Radio, desde New Haven, Connecticut, al mundo.
Good afternoon. Buenas tardes. Thank you for joining us at WNHH 103.5 FM, La Voz Hispana Radio, broadcasting live from downtown New Haven. This first portion will be in English, a lot going on, and a las 3:30 empezaremos la parte en español. Thank you for being with us on this beautiful, hot Monday. And unfortunately, I come to you with news around what is happening with the children who are detained. And we just heard right now the music from Las Cafeteras, and they had beautiful messaging in terms of treating everyone as human beings with respect. And they had a beautiful sign out where how can we be any human being here in the United States be considered undocumented, or the harsh word illegal, where no human being can be illegal, and how can anyone be undocumented on stolen land? So many of the people here are immigrants, either forcibly brought into this land or decided to come here for different reasons, whether it was fleeing violence or fleeing famine. This beautiful country of the United States has created a cradle of love and hope for many families. I grew up here in New Haven, Connecticut. You're with Caprice Taylor Mendez. Taylor's my father's family, and Mendez is my mother's family. Born in Guatemala, arrived when I was about 5, turning the age of 6. My first entry into the United States was as a kindergartner with my 2 older brothers, my oldest brother being only 4 years older than me. And so the 3 of us back to back in school, and then my younger sisters followed. And it's been a blessing being in this country. This country, through its democracy, allows one to really be a critical ally for any democracy to have strength and continue forging forward. There's a set of core values that we must all adhere to and want to intentionally carry forward into the next generation. And many countries around the world, people are fleeing those where democracy is not strong, where violence reigns, where military dictatorships dictate what people can and cannot do, where governments censor the truth, afraid of what an uprising can look like if too many people know the truth, and if too many people know rights that are constantly being abused. And where those military dictatorships reign, the wealthy 1% often benefit from it, whether it's reflective in the military and who's in the ranks, or prior wealthy families who control government and allow the military to do as they wish as long as they keep their land. I'm speaking this reality, truth around what we call developing countries, whether it's in the continent of Africa or whether it's in the North Hemisphere, where Mexico is considered part of North America, where Latin America exists with Central America and South America. Mexico is also Latin America. Mexico does not have a dictatorship, does not have military controlling its government, but what it has is a lot of gangs in certain spots with the drug war. Central America's gangs and drug war isn't birthed from the same space as Mexico's. In the 70s, 80s, through the 90s. There were over 100,000 paramilitaries who received money by the Guatemalan government. They worked for the Guatemalan government, and their job was to maintain control of the population. I went to Boston College. I had 3 jobs, put myself through school, and including I have a bank loan that proves it, that in my name. So I was about 17 when I took out that loan. I'm still paying for it, but I'm glad that I did. And in college, I had a professor. She worked at Boston College for the full year, but 6 months out of the year, she traveled to Guatemala. In the 1990s, there was talks about a peace treaty to allow for the Central American Free Trade Agreement to take shape, which is synonymous or similar to the North American Free Trade Agreement, which would have allowed U.S. Corporate interests to have free trade in Latin America, in Central America, specifically the Central American Free Trade Agreement. And at that time, I was doing my independent study with Professor Brinton Likes. Shout out to Professor Brinton Likes. And the most unfortunate event happened. She was partnering with 2 Native American Mayan professors, PhD professors. They went through formal education, obtained their PhD in psychology. I was studying psychology. That was my major. And I was focused on violence and post-traumatic stress disorder and how to clear trauma from a child's psyche, which can truly affect the rest of their life, especially for trauma that happens in childhood. And in the 90s, at that time, there was an entire Mayan Native American village burned to the ground. Machine guns held by the paramilitary of Guatemala's government shot down, burned down, killed as many of the adults as possible, and many children were left orphaned. My professor would travel 6 months out of the year for those 2 years that I assisted her with a project, and she did this work beyond, to support those orphaned children, to try to release the trauma that they obtained from witnessing a massacre of their loved ones, the families that they loved. And many of them stopped talking for a while. So my professor with another, with 2 PhD Mayan Native American psychologists, created therapy based on Western and Mayan Native American culture. And the Mayan culture really believes in the human is more at peace and centered with the rhythms of the earth, being as connected to Mother Earth as possible. They would play games where children would lay on the ground, where they would gather leaves or twigs or different things to tell their story, laying on the ground to feel Mother Earth holding them, collecting objects from the earth to develop art that would tell their story. And they moved into painting, drawings, and they moved into creating masks. And the masks told the story of how they were feeling. They moved into doing performance theater without words. Over 2 years, I would then watch the videos, identify the children, look at the drawings and the paintings, identifying the children and their progress, whether or not the different type of therapy that they underwent was supporting them. And in the beginning, there was a vivid picture of a field with blood in the middle, or a machine gun and blood spattering in that gorgeous field with sunshine and blades of grass. the Mayan machine guns, men covered with masks came and shot them all down. One of the two Mayan professors, the Boston College Jesuit School, managed to get a work visa sponsorship for him to actually move to Boston College and teach. As an assistant professor, he was able to get a HB1 visa, and at that time, there was no such thing as asylum rights or refugee rights for Guatemalans, even though it was very clear that he was meant to be dead. And to his blessing, to his family's blessing, he was out sick that day when the machine gun stormed into the classroom. I met him upon entering the United States. He started teaching at BC, and I started teaching his wife English as she was teaching me one of the Mayan languages. I say all this because he could not get asylum or refugee status back then. Those guns and those machine guns that came in storming through the classroom, guess who paid for them? Our U.S. tax dollars. Guess who ordered those deaths? Could have been most likely the Guatemalan government, but it coincided with a letter that Senator Kennedy of the United States posted in the newspapers indicating that no one in U.S. Congress should contact anyone in Guatemala within that window of time, within the week that that massacre happened, prohibiting any contact with the embassy, the ambassadors, or any congressional leader. What kind of contact could be taking place with congressional leaders? Well, one of the wealthiest families in Guatemala married into one of the U.S. congressional leaders' families from somewhere out in the Midwest. There was plenty of relationship between the elite of Guatemala and the elite of the United States. I am blessed and privileged to have grown up here and to be able to say these truths on the radio without fearing that I will get shot down. That was not the history of my father. He developed a book for children in Guatemala, poor children, to be able to, because it was standardized curriculum, to be able to purchase one book. And that one book would allow for them to cover most of the subject matter in the curriculum for most of the year, if not 3/4 of the year. And that book got him into hot water. A knock came on the door saying if he didn't leave in 7 days, my mother would see him the next time dead. So he fled to New Haven, Connecticut, where two aunts had married former U.S. military men who were stationed in Guatemala. African American, my uncles, and that's how we ended up in New Haven. I say all of this, again, we were not able to get in line into any line possible if it were not for the amnesty bill that Reagan passed. Reagan passed this bill along with the U.S. Congress, and the community fought for this bill, providing the opportunity for families such as mine to finally rest our heads and feel safe that we would not be separated in the middle of the night, immigration coming, storming through the door, and snatching my mother away. That nightmare never happened because of the amnesty bill. That is the nightmare that many children are living now. There was a Facebook video of immigration knocking down a door and doing that very thing in front of children. Many of these individuals targeted are not criminals. You have the United States President saying, those people do not assimilate. Does it sound like I didn't assimilate? A Boston College graduate. I also have my master's from Harvard, Administration, Social Policy, and Planning. Over 27 years dedicated to improving the community's quality of life. Not only have I assimilated, my family assimilated, but we've thrived. I have a brother who's a lawyer, another brother who runs an insurance company, another sister runs a major medical science for-profit organization as the human resource director. Another sister working every day to provide for her child and her new son-to-be over at Yale. We've assimilated pretty well. Is it a fear that we would assimilate too well? Or is it for other reasons, such as corporate reasons? There's a push to increase detention centers, where once again, over 70% of the immigrants who have been detained by ICE are placed into detention centers that are privately owned. Every day it costs over $90 per person to be housed in a detention center. Last year, it averaged about $30,000 a day. That's a lot of money going into private pockets. And there's a request to increase detention of children and families. Separating children from families is inhumane. 4-year-olds, babies, ripped out of the arms of a mom who was breastfeeding this month. And they don't know how to reunite these families. Reunification is becoming almost impossible, if not already impossible. Some cases, the parents are deported out of the country, ordered to never step a foot again back into the United States, and yet their children are not in their arms, and they don't know how to find them. They were provided a 1-800 number, and that 1-800 number, when it's finally responded to, the individual in the back here in the United States says, sorry, we don't take care of minors. Relocation of minors back with families. What are parents to do? I heard people stated, why parents even bring children here? They're coming through the border without papers. They're breaking immigration law. Why are they doing that with their children? Would you flee a violent situation without your children? Would you leave a burning house, make sure that you are safe, and yet your child might burn in that house? The status of certain parts of Latin America, Central America, Mexico are dangerous. One of the most dangerous places in the world in Central America. We in the United States, our taxpayers, tax-paying dollars, cause the destabilization of many of these countries where our elite corporate interests worked hand in hand with the elite of Latin America. As long as the U.S. corporations were allowed to exploit the cheap labor, free labor often, and mass produce things, taking natural resources and using military, training people to torture and kill. Then when CAFTA, Central American Free Trade Agreement, was signed, peace had to reign the land, which really meant unemployed 100,000 paramilitaries who were trained to kill. What is the market that would employ them but the drug market? There is a drug demand in the United States, and the military, former militaries trained by the United States to torture and kill, still had the same machine guns and bullets that we provided them. So now they are massacring people, threatening children 14 years of age, either you sell drugs for us or we will kill you. we have some of those children who decided to do the right thing and they had to flee for their lives, not knowing if their grandparents would survive, not knowing if their family would survive, and their parents saying, run, just don't turn back. This is the situation. It is a humanitarian crisis, one that our administration is exacerbating. ACLU released a report recently detailing a long history of child abuse at detention centers. Aside from the post-traumatic trauma that they faced from where these children and families and mothers, pregnant mothers and fathers and human beings fled, ACLU has over 30,000 pages of documents obtained through the Freedom of Information Act that alleges Customs and Border Patrol officials responsible for sexual abuse, physical assault, and denial of medical care, clean water, and food. And this is just a small sample of the way that children and other immigrants are treated in an inhumane way. This has to stop. And for those who are listening, what I said was really harsh reality. But I'm asking for all of us to step up and show compassion. The reality is, these are innocent children. Many of the people living in Central America and Mexico, they're victims of systems and policies that have been set, the wheel rolling before they were even born, yet affected. I'm living proof of that effect, living in New Haven, proud of having grown up here and all the blessings that my family and I have been able to receive, paying taxes even before my dad had an official Social Security number. He was paying taxes. He had 3 jobs to raise his 5 kids, paying taxes but never getting a refund. And with that, I'll see you next Monday. Thank you for listening to WNHH 103.5 FM. And hopefully we'll have a lawyer who actually went down to the border and can tell you exactly what she saw when she was there from Quinnipiac University. Thank you.
La Voz Radio, desde New Haven, Connecticut, al mundo. Transmite en su canal de frecuencia modulada estereofónica multiplex La Voz Radio, desde New Haven, Connecticut, al mundo.
Este programa fue auspiciado por Care for Kids para las familias de Connecticut. 1-888-214-5437.
Desde CNN en Atlanta les informa Leticia Guevara. Los investigadores del condado de Behar en el estado de Texas arrestaron al agente de policía José Núñez, de 47 años. En rueda de prensa, el sheriff Javier Salazar dijo que Núñez había abusado sexualmente de una niña de 4 años y habría dicho a la madre de la niña, quien es una inmigrante indocumentada, que sería deportada si lo denunciaba ante las autoridades. La oficina del sheriff recibió la llamada luego de que la mujer llevara a su hija a una estación de bomberos de noche pidiendo ayuda. El sospechoso es familia de la víctima, informó el sheriff, sin dar mayor detalles. Tampoco dio detalles de cómo se encuentra la niña. Los investigadores creen que el supuesto abuso podría estar ocurriendo durante meses y que podría haber otras víctimas. El sospechoso no se ha pronunciado al respecto y se desconoce si tiene protección legal. De ser declarado culpable, podría pasar hasta 25 años en prisión. El alto comisionado de los derechos humanos de las Naciones Unidas, Said Raad al-Hussein, condenó las separaciones de padre e hijos en la frontera de Estados Unidos y calificó el acto como excesivo. En un amplio documento comparó este tipo de casos con las políticas de inmigración húngaras al tiempo que pidió en Washington la ratificación de la Convención de los Derechos de los Niños. Les informó Leticia Guevara, somos CNN en español.
Transmite en su canal de frecuencia modulada estereofónica multiplex La Voz Radio desde New Haven, Connecticut al mundo.
Por estar aquí con nosotros con Juntos Podemos, Together We Can, cada lunes aquí en WNHH 103.5 FM. Buenas tardes, mi gente. Yo sé que tenemos tiempos bien difíciles, con todavía una gran matanza por causa del huracán y causa de no responder a las necesidades de la isla de Puerto Rico como se merecen, más el abuso de seres humanos en las fronteras aquí en los Estados Unidos. Y también hubo el volcán allí en Guatemala que mató familias de generaciones completas. Hubo, por ejemplo, una familia que estaban celebrando una boda y 3 generaciones se murieron después de la erupción del volcán. La abuela, los nietos y hijos se murieron. Es un desastre. Y hay desastres que crea la naturaleza, y hay desastres que crea el ser humano. Y el desastre de la frontera y de lo que pasó en la isla no debe de ocurrir en silencio. Y debemos de levantar las voces y decir ya no más a la falta de respeto al ser humano. Y muchos no reconocen, van con la corriente porque la administración que tenemos hoy en día está utilizando discriminación y racismo para criminalizar a seres humanos, criminalizando a niños. Hoy en el noticiero hubo una frase del presidente diciendo: esos niños inmigrantes no son inocentes. Yo creo que hay ciertas personas que no pueden hablar de la inocencia, uno que no tiene valores. Pero más allá es importante ver para qué meta está utilizando discriminación, criminalizando a seres humanos inocentes, y es para poder ser dinero. Este país ha tenido una gran historia en vigilar por los intereses de corporaciones, aunque destruya a la gente de clase media o clase baja. Y mucha gente de la clase media y clase baja, que yo me incluyo en esas clases, somos ciegos de esa realidad, y muchas veces peleamos una contra el otro porque ¿quién va a discriminar a quién? ¿Quién va a salir adelante mientras están aplastando los demás? Este país ha usado racismo para separarnos, para que los ricos se hagan más ricos y los pobres más pobres. Y ya es tiempo de que en nuestros hogares, en nuestras comunidades, vigilamos muy bien cuando actuamos de una manera discriminatoria contra gente que no se ven como uno, porque estamos ayudando a los que tienen dinero, a que siguen aplastando a nosotros mismos y los demás. ¿Y por qué digo todo esto es haciendo dinero? ¿Quién está lucrando de esta situación? Yo creo que hace un mes les conté de que acá en los Estados Unidos el sistema de prisión, muchas corporaciones privadas, es decir, individuos son dueños de esas corporaciones y hacen dinero. Y hacen dinero por cada cuerpo que mantienen dentro de una cárcel. Si es de inmigración o es una cárcel como cualquier otra cárcel, hacen dinero por cada persona que pasa un día completo. Hacen dinero vendiendo agua, vendiendo ropa, hacen dinero forzando labor como esclavos, donde tal vez le pagan $1 al día, $3 al día, trabajando 8 horas al día, haciendo ropa para compañías de ropa. En otra programación hablaré cuáles son las compañías que tienen contratos con las cárceles donde casi ni pagan nada, si es que pagan algo, y la gente dentro de la cárcel son como esclavos. Y no hay que apoyar compañías que están haciendo mucho dinero encarcelando a nuestra gente. Nuestra gente no es simplemente gente inmigratoria, gente que viene de Puerto Rico, gente que ha vivido aquí ya 2, 3 generaciones. Mientras nosotros no tenemos ojos azules y piel clara, es difícil a que el sistema no nos estén viendo como otros cuerpos para encarcelamiento. Ahora están tratando de pedir la administración más fondos para encarcelar más gente y para crear campamentos afuera con niños, separando los niños de los padres. Padres que son deportados de ahí no saben cómo entrar de nuevo porque se los mandaron, se fueron a su país natal sin sus hijos porque el gobierno les quitaron sus hijos y desecharon de este país sin sus hijos. ¿Y cómo es que van a entrar de vuelta a buscar a sus hijos y reclamar sus hijos? Esa es la situación que estamos aquí hoy en día. Hay que levantar nuestras voces y los que pueden ser ciudadanos hay que hacerlo lo más pronto posible porque su voto sí cuenta. Y hay que echar la gente que están ayudando con esta crisis humanitaria. Las Naciones Unidas recién la semana pasada sacó una opinión bien fuerte. Es decir, los Estados Unidos está quebrando una ley humanitaria en quitar de los brazos de los padres a sus hijos en la frontera, simplemente por ser inmigrantes. Mucha gente dice, pero ellos están quebrando la ley, ¿por qué quebran la ley con sus hijos? Lo merecen. Eso es lo que yo he escuchado. Gente está huyendo, situaciones violentas. Uno de padre saldría corriendo de una casa con fuego, sabiendo de que podían rescatar a sus hijos. También correrían con los hijos en los brazos. Cualquier padre haría lo posible para que los hijos tengan una mejor vida. Y yo agradezco a mis padres por hacer eso con mis hermanos y con mí misma. Y a todos los inmigrantes, por favor, no pierdan la esperanza. Por fin, esta administración se está dejando ver los rasgos de racismo en su cara. La voz diciendo que niños no son inocentes cuando son, y tratando de criminalizar a niños inocentes. Eso es lo que está pasando. El racismo para hacer más dinero. $90 por día es lo que estamos pagando con los impuestos a detener inmigrantes. Y corporaciones privadas dando ese dinero a la gente rica para que se hagan más ricos. 70% de la gente detenida en el año 2017 fueron en detención privada de corporaciones privadas. Y habían como 30,000 personas. $90 por día. 30,000 personas más o menos cada día de los 365 días del año. Es mucho dinero y están pidiendo por más. Quieren detener más gente y la situación de niños no lo están tomando de corazón. Es como efectos secundarios en detener adultos en estos centros de detención. Están ahora viendo qué van a hacer con los niños y quieren más dinero para ponerlos debajo de carpas. Tent City se llama en inglés. Eso es un abuso. Y un grupo nacional, ACLU, vigila los derechos de los seres humanos aquí en los Estados Unidos. Acaban de sacar a luz un reporte de 30,000 páginas diciendo de todos los abusos en las manos de inmigración y de los abusos que los niños propios también han tenido experiencia, incluyendo no recibir comida, no recibir agua, no recibir atención médica, y de los peores abusos también, abusos sexuales, abusos donde una madre joven iba a dar luz, pero tenía dolores fuertes, quería atención médica, gritando y no le ayudaron, y el bebé se murió. Nació muerto el bebé. Abusos contra los seres humanos y no hay que aceptarlo. Es hora que lancemos la voz. ¿Y cómo se hace? Hay que hablar con la gente que no conoce nuestra historia. Llegamos aquí saliendo de situaciones, si los hijos no pueden comer o tememos la muerte, han hecho lo correcto en tratar de luchar para una mejor vida para sus hijos. Y yo les digo gracias. Y también les digo que no pierdan la esperanza y lanzamos la voz. Hay que unirnos con grupos locales como Unidad Latina en Acción, como la Alianza de Derechos de Inmigrantes aquí en Connecticut, CIRA, como con los soñadores, Connecticut Students for a Dream. Hay que apoyarnos y los que pueden, hay que sacar su ciudadanía para usar su voz política también. Y el miércoles 25 de julio en la Universidad Albertus Magnus College aquí en New Haven tendremos un foro comunitario con los que se están lanzando para ser gobernador de Connecticut. Queremos que ustedes salgan esa noche con sus hijos para ver cuidado de niño. Lleguen, va a haber más información en otro día aquí en la radio, y expresen que queremos derechos fuertes para los seres humanos, a que no importa el estatus inmigratorio. Queremos que ustedes lancen su voz ahí también. No importa si son ciudadanos o no, son residentes de Connecticut y su presencia cuenta. Y son tiempos difíciles, pero juntos podemos seguir adelante. Tendré más información en el futuro también para los quienes desean apoyar después de la calamidad que ocurrió en Guatemala, para apoyar a las familias que ahora todavía siguen buscando sus seres queridos debajo de la erupción del volcán, y gente que se quedaron sin hogar, sin trabajo y lo peor, sin familia. Porque la verdad, ¿qué es una casa sin amor? ¿Qué es dinero sin el calor de familia? Y abracen fuerte a sus seres queridos. Y nos veremos el próximo lunes aquí 103.5 La Voz Hispana Radio en vivo desde New Haven. También nos pueden encontrar en Facebook La Voz Hispana CT. Y la próxima semana, si tienen cualquier pregunta, a las 3:30 en español, 203-672-5919. Y muchas bendiciones.